Yo guys, the initial build video blew up beyond my expectations. I really appreciate all the support. Here's the update to the build. I won't cover the basics here, so check out the original guide for details. In my initial video I tried to go through it in depth, so the length might be off-putting. Use the video chapters to find what you need. I go through everything in detail there, so if something's not covered here, it's probably covered there. Before I start, please help me improve by letting me know what you like and don't like in the comments. It's really important to me. I want to be better, so please just share your thoughts regardless if they're good or bad, and make sure you help me improve. These are the chapters I'll be covering in this video. You can skip right to the relevant sections for yourself if you don't want to go through everything, but I think there's going to be a lot of useful information here for new or existing players of the build. Without further ado, let's get into it. Thoughts since patch and patch 0.11. So the patch fixed FireFlower not igniting certain minions, so that actually made the build significantly better. It also fixed considered casting support gem, so we no longer use it because there was a bug where it actually affected meta energy gems, but it actually only should work on skills that you self-cast, so we're no longer using that. Bigger sheet damage numbers aren't better. It's actually sad times for big damage endurers such as myself. Overwhelming presence was a must-use before patch. Now it's not optional or not needed anymore at all. We don't have any issues igniting delirium breach monsters because of the fix with the FireFlower. So overwhelming presence, you can get rid of it now. Meta energy is the shit. Get as much meta energy as possible. It will make your build a lot stronger. This is probably the best stat you can stack at the moment. At the same time, I'm no longer sure about Eldritch Battery. The trade-off is that it's a defense versus offense, and I think we have plenty of offense now, and we actually need a bit more defense. So I removed this. I'm still testing this, so use your own choice when trying the build. You can do both ways. You can't go wrong with either. Something else that I'm certain of, good jewels are actually better than passives. So if you can get a good jewel and a jewel socket within 3-4 points, that is often better than the actual 3 passive points that you can get. So here's an example of a jewel where I have full maxed out rolls, and this jewel is actually better than most 4 points that I can get from any passives. And what I want to point out for the big damage enjoyers is that I actually managed to skip the 200k comet update and go straight to 300k. That's what we have here. And also notice we have 65% crit chance and 579% crit damage bonus. So yeah, the damage is there. We have more than enough damage. Chapter 2, common issues and fixes and frequently asked questions from the comments. So I want to cover some comments that I got on the previous video and address those right now. What's the reason for having Raging Spirits on level 4? Lower level Raging Spirits mean they die faster, so you get more energy. Just use the lowest level you can. Aim for 4, 5, 6, 7, anything works. You just want the spirits to die as fast as possible. How do I handle lag issues? I'm looking to upgrade my GPU. I lowered all the settings. Everything is low. Bloom is low. And I'm still having lag issues. Can't really do anything until GGD fixes it. Is this build dead or still working after patch? This build is a lot better after patch. Actually, now it's probably up there with the top builds. It feels really, really strong. Thank you for the build. You're most welcome. This is not my own build. I just took the idea of cast on minion with FireFlower. So if your combat damage is lacking, that's a really common issue. I had the same issue when I was getting into maps. 50k was like a nice first breakpoint that you reach. Then you can start adding jewels, passives, more crit rate, more crit damage. You will actually go over 100k and you can reach 300k, as you saw in my screenshot above. It's all about kind of making the trade-offs between survivability and damage. So you always need to find the sweet spot, but the damage will be there. Get more crit, more crit damage, more better jewels, and you will have a lot more damage. How do you handle mana issues with running this build? Also a common problem with this build. Mana is solved by having 1-2% mana on kill jewels and mana on kill on rings and gloves. Get a couple of these, whichever was cheaper way for you to get it. Rings and gloves are quite expensive. The jewels itself with 1-2% are also expensive, but if you get 3-4 jewels, your mana issues are solved. I'm glad you're enjoying this build. How not to get one shot. So your damage 50k is a good starting point. Like I said, it's more than enough 50k damage per comet. What you need now is to survive and not get one shot. Then you need to focus on these. So get ES passives, ES on jewels, and stack more life so that when you convert it to ES, you have more shield. Also, the same reason why I got rid of the Eldritch Battery is because I wanted more survivability, and this is why I got rid of it. How do I have Eldritch Battery and still have the HP? It's because of the chest. Ghostwrite, it converts half of my HP into, or more, if it's corrupted, into energy shield. And that is very, very easy way to get survivability. Any tips on single target boss? I feel my damage is not enough. What I said earlier, stack more passives, damage boosting jewels, level up, and the damage will be there. So why FireFlower? FireFlower with Necromantic Talisman passive allows us to give FireFlower effect to our minions, which are Raging Spirits. Whenever Raging Spirits or yourself, you ignite anybody, then the damage that FireFlower gives actually goes to the minions, which are Raging Spirits, and then they die faster. This creates the loop of summoning Raging Spirits, ignite, they die, you get energy for cast on Minion Death, and then the comets start raining down. Bonus point. So only morons ask to nerf a PvE game. I guess so. Archmage is fine. I have more OP options ready now. I simply like to have a choice. So when I ask for a nerf, I'm not asking for a nerf. I'm just asking to have more choices than one. And if you want to see this even more OP build, please subscribe. It's coming in the next week. So passive and gem changes. Made a couple of changes, nothing too drastic. We're focusing on more jewel sockets. We're not running Eldritch Battery anymore. We're getting more crit and crit damage nodes. And we are getting rid of the ailment chance because the patch fixed it, so we no longer have the issue with igniting. This build is actually so good now. We don't need to worry about this. We always ignite. Everything is dead. The only problem is my GPU and my PC can't handle it, but it is what it is. For gem changes, we're now using 5-socket cast on Minion Death, and we're actually going with more meta energy over damage support gems because the overall damage is actually better with the energy gems. We're no longer running Overwhelming Presence. I'm still testing this out, but it's no longer needed, again, since the patch. And finally, we have Hypothermia or Conductivity curses. If you're running Overwhelming Presence, then you're going to have to do gem swaps. If you're not, then you can run one of these curses, make a choice, depends on how much more damage you do cold versus lightning because of Archmage, but this should be your choice of curses. Here, let's quickly go through the updated gems. My Time Freeze still has Life Tap and Persistence. My Fireball has not changed. Pretty standard. I might want to get a 5th socket, but it's not really needed. I would put Arcane Surge here. For my Raging Spirits, also unchanged, Infernal Legion, Minion Instability, Feeding Frenzy, and Magnified Effect. I swapped this Magnified Effect around between Raging Spirits and Sigil of Power, but I usually just keep it here because I'm too lazy to swap things out. Then we have Cast on Minion Death. I'll circle back to this. We have Frostwall with Overcharge, Stormfire, Spell Cascade, Lightning Exposure. We have Eye of Winter with Unleash, Inevitable Critical, Strip Away, and Cold Exposure. So what these two skills do is they apply exposures, shocks, and crit buff. We basically use this for those two main things, and only you really need to use these for bosses. Everywhere else, these are rarely used. Blink for mobility. I've added Wind Wave, simply because sometimes you might get stunned and you want to move out of it. Still running Grim Feast with Clarity. You can put Clarity wherever. Still running Archmage, and we have an open slot for one of the curses or Overwhelming Presence, depends on what you want to run. So now I want to showcase something quite interesting. I don't have my jewels on, and I don't have 3 of the sockets filled out. My damage right now is about 50k. So what most people who are viewing this video have in the comments. This is just a nice, good starting point. All of this crit damage essentially comes from my passives. Now, what happens when I add concentrated effect? I don't recommend running this in maps, but it's nice for bosses. We put another level +1 for cold skills, and we add elemental focus. Our damage goes to 93,000, purely from just adding these 3 support gems. Yeah, we lose the elemental ailments, but this is just early game people. Can you really use these 3 gems interchangeably to boost their damage? I also want to point something out, that my base damage of 47, let's say 48,000, without Archmage, as soon as I turn my Archmage on, it basically doubles. So Archmage is huge. I only have 2.2k mana. It's not too good, but Archmage is an easy way to scale damage. And now if we actually add elemental focus and the rest, our damage is 193,000. So let's use this as the starting point, and at the same time cover passives. So my passives are more or less the same. We're still grabbing the crit nodes here. We're grabbing this circle here. We're grabbing the jewel socket there. We're getting necromantic talisman. This is a must-have. I've gotten rid of these 3 nodes because I had to sacrifice something, and this was the choice. I'd still like to run these 3, but I don't have the points. Once I level up a bit more, I'll put them in back. We're getting the crit nodes here. Typical ES, mana, intellect here. Energy shield here. I also want to get this mana blessing. It's a very nice 1 point, but I'm again running out of passives. Getting all the crit here. I've actually put 2 extra here because I've been testing out timeless jewels here, but these are nice because the dexterity as well as the crit hit chance. Meta energy here, meta energy here, meta energy here. More crit. And then we actually extended this further to get the crit here and the crit damage here, because they give both intelligence and strength, which are both useful stats for this build. This is actually super high value nodes that I didn't think about reaching before. That's where I sacrificed a lot of the passives in order to reach this. One thing about the passives that I want to point out for people, as you're leveling and building, really focus on the jewels. So for example, here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's a jewel socket. That's quite nice. At the same time, here we have 1, 2, 3, also a jewel socket. So for 3 points, we get a jewel socket. This is super high value socket with 3 points only. You should aim for this. At the same time, since we reached this, now we also have 1, 2, 3 for another jewel socket. So within the next 6 points, I'm able to get two jewel sockets. And if I add another 4, I'm gonna be able to add this one as well. So prioritize these jewel sockets if you have nice jewels. Otherwise, keep getting the usual ES here, if you need survivability, crit damage, cold stuff here, etc. And these are the main changes to passives. My Chronomancer has not changed. Ignore these 2 points here for now. I would still run these 2. I've just changed them around because I'm testing something out, which uses HP and recoup. Stay tuned for later. I do mention it briefly, but there is something upcoming video for. So now I want to show you how my damage changes once I add my jewels. So right now we're at 193,000 without any of the 9 jewels. And you can pause the video as I add these to see what effects they have. They haven't really changed. I'm still using the same set of jewels from before. I do change them around based on whether I need mana, damage, etc. Actually, since we are no longer running Overwhelming Presence, we actually don't need the Grand Spectrum anymore, and we can run another jewel, which helps us boost the damage. So now I've added all the jewels. and our comet damage now is 310,000. However, I wouldn't run this in maps or at bosses. I think this is the way forward. You add the inspiration, so you have less mana issues. I think inspiration is must run. Then you add impetus and energy retention for the energy gain. Then your comet damage is moderate, 158,000, not too high, 65% crit chance, and 579% crit damage. I think this is the better way to run this. Yeah, you can get a lot more damage numbers from these 3 gems or kind of variations. You can mix and match. For example, replace one like that and you have way more damage but less energy gain. It really is up to you. You can mix and match the last 3, actually the last 2, because I think this you must run this unless you have infinite mana or your gear is 50 div plus per piece. Even then I think you would have mana issues. But with this setup, we have 178 energy gain modifier, 60% chance to refund half the energy, and the actual comets cost way less mana, and they still do ridiculous amounts of damage. They crit basically all the time because of the debuff from Eye of Winter, plus the 65%. You basically have 100% crit hit chance. It's always doing 580% extra damage. This is more than enough damage for everything. I don't see any need to run these to push the damage even further. You can also get additional levels for the comet. Right now my comet is +5 because of the wand. You can get an additional +1 from the gem, +3 from a jewel. There's either other ways to push this even further with this gem setup. For my curse setup, using either conductivity or hypothermia, and then I'm running ritualistic curse, heightened curse, and impending doom. I think impending doom is optional. The other 2 are pretty good, and you can use whichever depending on how much damage you do. So if we check out my comets, they do more lightning damage, so I should be running conductivity because more of my damage comes from lightning than cold. But that's only while running Archmage. If you run this without Archmage, use hypothermia. So now chapter 4, gear changes and costs. So before, this was the cost of my gear, roughly. I bought a lot of it quite cheaply. The prices seem to be going up, and my total gear, this was not the gear I started with. This is the gear that I cleared citadels with. It was worth less than 4 divs because I still had some even worse pieces, but just proves you that you don't need expensive build with expensive multi-div items to be able to clear the game. However, I pushed it further. I got lucky with some extra div drops and some trades. So the new gear is a lot more expensive. These are the costs. You can go through it yourself. But the total, the interesting parts of the total is about 2 times, 3 times higher now. Also, I want to bring your attention to this line here. Any further updates require at least 5-10 divs per item, which is quite expensive for me right now. I do not have infinite amount of currency. I'm not sure if there's going to be another update after this, but even at 10 div costs, this build is very, very strong. Feels great. So now let's go through the gear quickly. So for gear, I've upgraded the wand with a +5 with critical hit chance, and I rolled cast speed on it because I bought it with just 5 lines. This is very, very good one. This is exactly what I want on every single stat line. I will probably never replace this. I got a new helmet with a bit more mana, life, intelligence, resistances, usual. I actually made this scepter myself.
Scepter.
I've been trying to get one with higher spirit and not have the negatives of elemental resistances or life regen for minions. This is the best I could find for now. It gives me 215 spirit with max quality. This is how I solve a lot of the spirit issues that people are having. You just need to have one of these. I would recommend try and craft these. Collect all the Omen Scepter's bases from the floor. Try to craft it until you get lucky. That's how I got this. Anything similar is probably a couple divs in terms of costs. FireFlower amulet that makes the build work. I still use the same one. I bought day 3 or 4 on early access. So I haven't really thought about this or replacing anything because this is what makes the build work. I bought a new ring. Also for 1 div. Also has triple mana with max mana quality, life, mana, cold damage, a bit of resistances. This is my old ring I bought for 1 div. These 2 rings is what you should aim for. And then you combine it with ingenuity, which I can't afford right now. And then it boosts these rings even further. And then you basically solve your mana issues, solve your life resistances, etc. I'm still using my old gloves. I bought these for 15x, if you can believe me. I haven't seen or found anything remotely similar or worth upgrading without at least 5 divs. So for now, I'm stuck with these. I've upgraded my belt. This is actually my most expensive. Oh, it's the second most expensive piece. My wand was 3 divs. I paid 2 divs and 60x for this because I can't afford ingenuity at the moment. And this is exactly what I want. I wanted chaos resistances, some more resistances, life, mana, and for the bonus one, I actually wanted recovery rate for mana, because on bosses I do have a bit of a mana issue sometimes. And then Flask gained 0.17 charges per second. It's also very nice. It's probably the nicest thing you can have on belts, as well as stun threshold. And then I updated my boots with 35% movement speed. Again, same thing. Mana, life, intelligence for more mana and resistances. My staff is the same. And as you can see, I'm essentially resistance capped. Missing 4 here, missing 2 here, missing 1 here, but I'm happy with this. Also notice I have 6,000, almost 6,100 energy shield and 1,000 life. So that makes me have 7,100 effective HP. Yeah, I don't die anymore, but sometimes if I make a mistake, I can still get clapped. But for now, this is more than enough survivability with the damage I can output. So a couple of extra things about gear that I want to mention. I still need to buy ingenuity, but at the moment it costs about 20 divs, which is a bit out of my price range. But this is the next upgrade for me that I'm saving up for. I'm also trying to find a way to incorporate Magic Find into the build, and I have something cooking. Please stay tuned till the end. I'm going to show you a sneak peek. I also want to mention a couple of extra things. So if you're not able to get Ghostwrite, there's Atziri's Disdain. You can use this instead of the chest. So for example, something like this, we get rid of the chest. We only have 1k energy shield. We replace the helm, and we have 2.5k energy shield just by replacing the helmet. So if we add a normal chest, something like this, we have 3.5k shield, 2.3k, let's say 2.4k life. That's a total of 5.9. That's almost 6k. That's pretty good survivability, and you're not running Ghostwrite. You still have a lot of shield, you still have a lot of life. Recoup nodes start becoming better when you have more HP. And at the moment you also unlock extra spirit if your chest has spirit, so this gives you 56 extra spirits. So this is an alternative way to run this build. It still works, everything is the same. Of course you lose the chaos resistance, so you need to fix that, but that's just another way to run it. Also, there's an honorable mention, Midnight Braid Rawhide Belt. So I've used this belt when I was early game, leveling, getting to maps, going from tier 1 maps all the way to tier 15. This belt saved me. It solves all the mana issues, because you still get hit occasionally, but because you have so much ES, it allows you to get hit and then get a lot of mana back. So as I recommended this in the first video, I'd also continue recommending this. At the same time, you can look for gloves like these. So this is quite a good set of gloves, but what you're looking for is gain mana per enemy killed. So this can only roll on rings and gloves. If you get all 3 of them, you can start replacing some of your sapphires with mana on kill, but you should aim for like some kind of combination of the 4 jewels, as well as rings, as well as the gloves. But these are some extra pieces that you can work on in your gear to help you with gearing. And now, Chapter 5, bonus content for those who stay this long. I appreciate it. I've been working on a Magic Find version. It's still work in progress. I'm getting there. I'm going to release a video about this in the upcoming days. So please like, subscribe if you want to see it. But the idea is to run as close to 150 Magic Find as possible. At the moment, I'm at 146. I'm very happy with this. The build works as good, if not better, than the current version with fully Magic Find. It's something that I'm really enjoying playing, because I get to see a lot more currency, a lot more loot. and then the build still works. I can still clear bosses. I'm going to be releasing a gameplay video of the Magic Find build probably tomorrow. So again, like, subscribe, and the guide for the Magic Find version will come out next week. So my final thoughts and build rating. This build is super fun. I give it a 10 out of 10 for fun. Its speed clearing is very, very good because of the blink and being Chronomancer. So the speed is actually up there from what I've seen. I feel pretty fast. The cost is also great. It's super cheap early, but actually can be quite expensive if you go a bit further and you want to push the build to the limits. Difficulty is 1 button, pretty easy. The only difficult part is the GPU intensity, and you need a good PC. Overall, I think this build is like 8 out of 10. I love it, mainly because it's super fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying PoE2 because of it. It's fun. Hope you enjoyed this update. Do the like, sub, YouTube things, and please make sure to let me know in the comments how I can improve and do better in the future. And peace.